Hi, I'm James and welcome back to our CompTIA A+ course. When we talk about memory in a computer, most people immediately think of RAM. But there's another type of memory that's just as important for getting a system started. Read-only memory, or ROM. ROM is responsible for storing the instructions a computer needs to boot up and initialize hardware before the operating system even loads. In this video, we're starting memory, Module A, read-only memory, where we will explore how ROM works, how it plays a critical role in system startup and configuration. This topic is part of the CompTIA A+, developed by CompTIA, essential knowledge for anyone preparing for a career in IT support. In this lesson, you will learn how to describe read-only memory or ROM, define BIOS and UEFI, and understand their differences. Configure the BIOS UEFI settings and use system information. Upgrade a computer's firmware safely and effectively. By understanding these concepts, you'll gain insight into how computers start up, how hardware is initialized, and how technicians manage low-level settings. So let's begin by taking a closer look at what read-only memory is and how it works. Read-only memory is a memory that the system cannot write to during normal device operation. A computer and other devices use ROM chips, often referred to as a BIOS or firmware chip located on the motherboard. This chip stores the information needed to boot the system, access basic hardware, and locate an operating system. This stored information is known as firmware. Firmware is stored in the same memory location every time the computer starts. It rarely changes and requires a special update process to rewrite the data. A ROM firmware chip has contact leads on all four sides and may be removable, although special tools are sometimes required. It is usually labeled with firmware information such as the BIOS or the UEFI company name and firmware version. Now, on older computers, firmware updates often required physically replacing the ROM chip. Modern systems typically use an EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory chip. Now, instead of replacing the chip, the firmware can be rewritten using a process called flashing. Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, or UEFI, and its predecessor, the Basic Input-Output System, known as BIOS, are the primary firmware standards used on PCs. BIOS firmware contains a startup program called the Startup BIOS. It also includes system BIOS instructions that load drivers for basic hardware. It manages motherboard settings such as current date and time, installed drives, operating system storage information, and serial and parallel port configurations. The BIOS supports Advanced Configuration Power Interface, or ACPI, which allows the operating system to control power usage and power down devices when not in use. It also supports plug and play, enabling the computer to discover and configure new hardware automatically. UEFI is a modern firmware standard developed to replace the BIOS. It improves software interoperability, addresses several limitations found in traditional BIOS systems. The UEFI provides enhanced security against booting attacks. It speeds up the startup process, including resuming for hibernation. It supports drives larger than 2.2 terabytes. It supports 64-bit firmware device drivers, allowing the system to address more than 17.2 billion gigabytes of memory during startup. UEFI uses a boot manager instead of the traditional boot sector. It can include a menu-based interface that allows users to select boot options from a list. It supports network booting using pre-boot execution environment, or PXE. It can run standalone UEFI applications such as the OS Loader. It separates boot services and runtime services for improved control. Now the CMOS battery on the motherboard provides continuous power to the firmware chip to maintain BIOS or UEFI settings when the computer is turned off. In newer systems, firmware may be stored in dedicated flash memory that does not require continuous power. Now you rarely need to access the BIOS or the UEFI settings. You might access them to resolve boot problems, fix disk drive issues, enable or disable security or power saving features, or simply monitor system health. You can access the BIOS or the UEFI by pressing a specific key during startup. Common keys include F1, F2, F10, delete, or even the escape key. The exact key depends on the motherboard manufacturer. If unsure, refer to the motherboard documentation. All BIOS and UEFI programs include a menu-based interface. You typically navigate using the keyboard, although newer versions may support mouse input. While menu labels may vary, most manufacturers provide similar configuration options. Now, your BIOS or UEFI provide important information about your computer's hardware components. Now, this includes the CPU, the memory or the RAM, internal disk drives, and video controller. Some of the information displayed in the BIOS or UEFI is read-only. It means it's shown for informational purposes and cannot be changed. Other settings may be configurable. Now, these can include system date and time, CPU settings, and memory overclocking options. In the processor information section, you can view details such as the processor type, clock speed, bus speed, or cache size. You may also see the processor ID, hyperthreading capability, and whatever 64-bit technology is supported. In many systems, these fields are informational only and cannot be changed. Viewing component information in BIOS or UEFI helps confirm the hardware is correctly detected. It can also assist in troubleshooting hardware recognition issues and verifying installed upgrades. The boot sequence is one of the most important settings in your BIOS or UEFI. It controls the order in which the computer searches for an operating system. When a computer starts, the BIOS or UEFI checks storage device in a specific order to find a bootable operating system. This order is known as the boot sequence. If the first device does not contain a booting or bootable operating system, the system moves to the next device in the list. You can change the boot sequence to control which device the computer checks first. For example, you might change first boot device from internal hard drive to a USB flash drive. Now, this is commonly done when installing a new operating system or running recovery tools. Typical boot sequence may include options such as the CD-ROM drive, SATA hard drive, USB devices, or even network boot. Now, only devices marked as bootable will be used. The system will attempt to boot in the order displayed. Incorrect boot order settings can cause startup errors. For example, if a USB drive is set as the first boot device and no operating system is present, the computer may fail to boot. Verifying boot order is one of the first steps when troubleshooting startup problems. Many internal devices can be enabled or disabled within the BIOS UEFI. This includes disk drives, integrated network interface cards, integrated audio, and various onboard ports. Even if a device is enabled but not being used, it still consumes system resources. If you want to maximize system performance, you can disable unused devices and ports. If you install an upgraded component, such as a network card or sound card, in an expansion slot, you can disable this similar integrated device. This frees up system resources and prevents device conflicts. BIOS and UEFI settings also allow you to enable or restrict USB access during system boot. This can help prevent unauthorized boot devices from accessing data before the operating system loads. For example, the Integrated Network Interface Controller, or NIC, can be set to off, on, or on with PXE enabled. Now, if it is set to off, the integrated network adapter is disabled. If it is set to on, the functionality is normal. If it is set to on with PXE, it allows network booting. Now, PXE is typically only used when booting an operating system from a network server. It is not required for normal booting from a local hard drive. BIOS or UEFI power management settings controls how the system behaves when the computer does not shut down properly or when AC power is lost. These settings also affect how the system wakes from sleep, standby, or hibernate modes. If you're using an operating system such as Windows with its own power management feature, it is recommended to disable BIOS or UEFI power management settings. This prevents conflicts between the firmware level and the operating system level power management settings. One common BIOS UEFI power setting is AC recovery. Now, this setting controls how the system behaves when AC power is restored after a power outage. If it is set to off, the system stays off when AC power is restored. If it is set to on, the system automatically powers on when AC power is restored. If set to last, the system returns to the previous state before the outage. In many systems, the factory default setting for the AC recovery is off. AC recovery settings are especially important for business environments. For example, servers or workstations may need to automatically restart after a power failure. In home systems, leaving the setting off may be preferred to prevent unexpected restarts. BIOS and UEFI security features help prevent unauthorized changes to firmware and protect hard drive data. These features create an important first layer of defense before the operating system loads. BIOS and UEFI passwords prevent unauthorized users from changing configuration settings. There are typically two password levels: supervisor or administrator and user. Now, the supervisor password allows full access to BIOS UEFI settings. It can also be used to set a user password. Now, you can configure user passwords with full access, limited access, view-only access, or no access to firmware settings. A boot password prevents someone from starting the computer without authentication. It works regardless of whether the operating system is installed or the internal device or a removable device. A hard disk password restricts booting from or accessing a specific hard drive. This protects data if someone physically removes the drive and installs it in another system. However, a hard disk password does not provide the same level of protection as full disk encryption. Now, if you forget your BIOS or UEFI password, you must reset the firmware using a jumper on the motherboard. Now, this resets all BIOS UEFI settings to a factory default, not just the password. Secure boot ensures that the operating system bootloader is digitally signed before it loads. This protects against boot-level malware such as rootkits. Secure boot is implemented in modern operating systems, including Windows 10 and Windows 11. Now, the Trusted Platform Module, or TPM, is an international standard for secure hardware-based encryption. Now, TPM chip stores cryptographic keys unique to the device. It supports hardware authentication and encryption technologies. Now, TPM is required for certain features in Windows 11. Before using TPM, it must be enabled in the BIOS or the UEFI. Once activated, it can be initialized and used by the operating system. A hardware security module, or HSM, performs similar cryptographic function to a TPM. However, it is typically a removable card or external device rather than integrated into the motherboard. HSMs are commonly used in enterprise environments for specialized encryption tasks. Third-party data protection and theft recovery solutions may also be integrated with a BIOS or UEFI. Now, these solutions protect data, help locate lost or stolen devices, and they often include firmware-level components and operating system software working together. Now, with these solutions, device owners may remotely lock the device, display a message on the screen, delete stored data, or locate the device using GPS or network tracking. Firmware security protects the system before the operating system loads. It prevents unauthorized configuration changes. It secures data and strengthens the boot process. For modern systems, firmware security is a critical component of overall cyber security. Many modern BIOS and UEFI firmware interfaces include a hardware monitoring section. Now, these built-in tools help monitor hardware connection to the motherboard. Temperature monitoring include sensors that track internal components such as the CPU, power supply, and the chipset. Some systems allow you to configure alarms if temperature exceeds safe limits. Other systems can automatically shut down the computer to prevent heat damage. Sensors monitor the speed and function of CPU and case fans. In UEFI systems, you can often adjust fan behavior based on temperature threshold. This allows you to optimize cooling performance, reduce noise, and prevent overheating. Voltage readings from the CPU or motherboard regulators are often displayed. If voltage readings fall outside normal operating range, you should test the power supply. If the PSU is working correctly, damaged voltage regulators on the motherboard may be the cause. Modern computers have multiple clock speed settings for the CPU, system bus, memory bus, and PCIe. These settings are often automatically detected, but some systems allow manual adjustment. Incorrect clock speeds may cause instability or overheating. Intrusion detection monitors a switch attached to the motherboard that records when the computer case has been opened. It helps determine whether the system has been physically tampered with. Firmware-based diagnostic tools allow you to test individual hardware component. Available tools depend on your firmware version. A startup test scans critical components for faults that interrupt the boot process. A hard disk test checks smart reporting or scans for damaged sectors. A memory test verifies that RAM modules are functioning correctly. A battery test checks the health of your laptop battery. Hardware monitoring relies on underlying sensor hardware. Most of the information can also be accessed through operating system applications. If your firmware does not include specific tools, you can use monitoring software while the operating system or within the operating system or from a startup disk. Computer and motherboard manufacturers periodically release firmware updates. Now, these updates or fix bugs, improve security, support new hardware, or add new BIOS or UEFI features. Now, applying a firmware update is called flashing. If done incorrectly, flashing can brick the device, meaning it becomes unusable. Always follow the manufacturer's specific instructions when updating firmware. The process may vary between devices. Step number 1, identify current firmware version. In other words, boot into your BIOS UEFI to identify your current firmware version. If you're using Windows, you can run the MS-Info 32 to view the current BIOS version. Step number 2, visit your manufacturer website. Visit the computer or motherboard manufacturer website. Look in the support section for available firmware updates. Step 3, review the documentation. Download, read all firmware documentation. Determine what fixes or features are included. Some updates may require operating system or driver update before installation. Remember, you do not have to install an update just because one is available. Step 4, verify compatibility. Confirm that the firmware update applies to your exact motherboard model and revision. Print or save the installation instructions. Download all required files. The update may include an executable file, a firmware image file, or both. Before making changes to the BIOS or UEFI, record your current configuration settings. It allows you to restore the system if problems occur. Step 5, ensure stable power. Ensure your computer is connected to a reliable power source. Ideally, use a UPS. If power is lost during the update process, the device may become unusable. Step 6, close all applications. Now, close all open applications before beginning the update process. Step 7, run the firmware update. Run the executable file. Follow the firmware update instructions. Depending on the manufacturer, the update may be performed from within Windows, directly in the BIOS or UEFI interface, or from a bootable USB drive. Your final reminder here, firmware flashing is a powerful but sensitive process. Always verify compatibility, ensure stable power, follow manufacturer instructions very carefully. Now the BIOS or the UEFI is responsible for initializing hardware, handling control over to the operating system during startup. Although firmware errors are rare, misconfigurations, hardware changes, or failed updates can cause system problems. Technicians may encounter a variety of BIOS UEFI related issues. These include boot device not being recognized, system clock resets or displays the incorrect time, the system overheating due to disabled or misconfigured fan controls, hardware components such as USB ports or onboard audio being disabled. Other issues include post failures, password lockouts, BIOS UEFI updates that fail to become corrupt, hardware changes causing system instability, new components being incompatible with the current firmware version. Now, to resolve the BIOS UEFI issues, access the firmware setup utility during startup, usually done by pressing a key such as the delete, escape, F2. Always check your motherboard manufacturer documentation for which specific key that is. Review the configuration settings carefully, re-enable or disable hardware components, and restore default settings if necessary. If your system fails to boot or post, you may need to reset the BIOS or the UEFI settings. Now, this can be done by clearing the CMOS using a motherboard jumper. Alternatively, remove the CMOS battery temporarily to restore factory defaults. In cases of corrupted firmware updates, many modern motherboards support BIOS recovery features. These may include a dual BIOS chip, a US flash recovery, or automatic recovery tools. Always follow manufacturer instructions when performing recovery procedures. Keeping BIOS UEFI firmware updated can improve hardware compatibility and security. However, updates should only be applied when necessary and performed very carefully. Configuring the BIOS UEFI, you typically have to consult your motherboard or system manufacturer website to see which specific key to press during startup to access the BIOS settings. Now we're going to be accessing a BIOS simulator. I'm going to go into my browser, do a BIOS simulator online. Now luckily for us, Lenovo offers or maintains an online simulation of its BIOS UEFI interfaces for their products. Now you can use them to view typical PC firmware interfaces. Now as you can see there's the BIOS Simulator Center. I'm going to click on it. Once the page is loaded, I can scroll down to access my BIOS simulator. Once in the BIOS simulator, you'll see there's laptops, tablets, desktops, workstations, and other. We're going to be searching for the ThinkCentre M700. We're going to take the first choice. As you can see there, there's a graphic interface mode. Now it's a menu-based interface with icons and buttons. Now unfortunately for this model, this is unavailable. What we do have is the text mode interface, so we'll be choosing that for today. Now on our main tab, it shows the machine model, serial number, BIOS revision, Ethernet MAC address, integrated license keys, and other information built into your individual machine. Now we can use our arrow keys to navigate our menus. Now going to the system summary, we get detailed information. It shows installation hardware on the motherboard, including the CPU, the memory, Ethernet audio device, drives, fans, and so on. Pressing the escape will exit back to our main menu. Going down into the system date and time. Now in a real BIOS, you should change the system clock here, but it should be accurate in the system or in this simulator anyway. From here, we can go to devices. Under our devices, it is a list of onboard device categories such as USB, ATA, video, audio, and Ethernet. Going to our USB setup. Now you can also disable individual USB ports, all USB ports at once, or configure troubleshooting and compatibility options. Navigating to our video, you choose which video device the computer boots from. Now this is important if you have a graphics card installed in addition to the motherboard's onboard video. You should also examine some of the other device options. Most will allow you to disable onboard devices with additional options based on the type of device. PCIe configuration allows you to configure slot speed as well. Onto the advanced tab, under the CPU, we can see the CPU settings. However, some include multiprocessing, virtualization support, turbo mode that can affect the performance and compatibility greatly. Now you probably shouldn't change these unless you know what you are doing. Under our power, you can use these settings to change when and how the computer powers on, such as after a power loss, when woken from a network, or on a timed schedule. Onto security, here you can set passwords for boot, BIOS access, hard disk access. You can also configure secure boot options, fingerprint recognition, and intrusion detection. Now under our startup, we've got our primary boot sequence. Going into our primary boot sequence controls your normal startup, but this model you can configure separate sequences for automatic startup and recovery after a system error. By default, the system checks for USB, flash drives for boot files, then the SATA drives in turn, then the network, and finally USB hard drives and optical drives. Now you could rearrange these based on your boot preference. For example, if you wanted to boot from a USB CD by going into the plus or minus keys, moving the devices up or down this boot list. On our exit, we can save and exit our changes, or discard our changes and exit. It's always a good idea going back, exploring different models, different BIOSes, getting familiar with various settings in various BIOSes. You will do good by going there and checking them out for yourself. And that brings us to the end of our lesson on read-only memory. Understanding ROM along with the BIOS UEFI is essential for knowing how a computer starts up, initializes hardware, allows you to configure low-level system settings. These are key skills for any IT technician, especially when you're troubleshooting startup issues or managing firmware. These concepts are part of the CompTIA A+, developed by CompTIA, and they are important for both the exam and real-world IT environments. Take some time, review the difference between the BIOS UEFI, make sure you understand how firmware settings can be configured, and update it safely. In the next video, we'll move to RAM, where we explore how working memory functions, different types of RAM, and how it impacts system performance. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing so you don't miss the rest of the lessons in our complete A+ course.